Welcome to Politics NY with Skye Behind the Curtain. Now, I have the pleasure of being with Andrea Ogle. She is a candidate for Queens County Civil Court Judge. And should she win her race on November 2nd, she'd be the first Indo-Caribbean Civil Court Judge in Queens County. So welcome to the show. Judges sometimes is a mysterious topic because people oftentimes don't realize exactly what judges do. So tell us, Andrea, a little bit about your background and why you are choosing to run for this seat.
I was actually born in Guyana in South America, and I came here when I was a teenager, and we settled in Queens County. I attended Queens College for my education, undergraduate, and I attended Seton Law um, University for law school. And once I graduated from law school, I was working in the corporate environment, and then I set up a private practice in Queens County about 23 years ago. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do that is because when I came into the United States and lived in Queens initially, it was not as diverse as it is now. And I saw a recognition and the need for services, and I thought of ways that I could assist the community. So I started working specifically with the Queens community in the family courts, in the criminal courts, and in the Supreme Court, representing people who look like us. And I've been doing that for more than 20 years. I represent primarily the underserved community in Queens. I'm an 18B attorney where I represent adults and children in the family courts who cannot afford attorneys. I am certified by the appellate division to do that, and I am reviewed by judges every year in order to be recertified, and I've been recertified to do that for the last 21 years.
Mhm.
I'm also certified as a revocation hearing officer for the Office for Children and Family Services. And I used to do hearings on youth who violated their aftercare to determine whether or not it should be revoked. I'm also certified by New York State as an impartial hearing officer for children with disabilities. And I am also a small claims arbitrator. And I also, it's a mouthful. And I'm also trained in guardianship and adult representation for the incapacitated as well.
So it's a lot, like you just said. So if you're elected, then how does your role change?
Well, I would not be representing litigants like I did for the last 20 plus years. I was in court on a daily basis. I will still be in court, but I would be making decisions with regard to the cases that come before the courts within the parameters of the evidence and the testimony that we hear. And we are bound by the law within the boundaries of the law.
Mhm. So you'll be on the ballot on November 2nd. And how important is it that voters understand what your role would be as a judge?
It is very important because voters play a very critical role in deciding who the judges are. And it's important that they have accurate and meaningful information in order that to make decisions to have informed choices on who the judicial candidates are, because the judge is a public servant to the community, and the decisions that they make affect the lives of real people. And I've seen firsthand how decisions made by the courts can not only affect an individual, but it can also affect the entire community.
Mhm.
And the seat belongs to the public. So the voters need to know how the role of a judge differs from a legislator. And that's something that education is important in order for that to happen. They need to know also whether or not the candidate has the essential qualities to become a good judge, because in order to be a judge, you have to have integrity, you have to have knowledge of the law, you have to have intelligence, common sense, and you have to be you have to have freedom from bias. Essentially, you have to be unbiased. You
Right.
have to be able to apply the law fairly. You have to make decisions in a timely manner because people's lives and liberties are often at stake when they come before the courts. And in addition to that, you have to have the personal skills to preside over a courtroom with dignity, courtesy, and respect
Mhm.
for anyone who comes before the courts. And that's not only for the attorneys and the lawyers, but also the staff that the judge works with, because it's important that everyone who comes before the court feels as though they've had the opportunity to be heard and that they were treated with dignity and respect.
Mhm. So as in this role as a civil court judge, what are some of the things that you'll be making judgment on for Queens County?
Well, once I'm elected, it would depend on which court I was placed in, because if I were placed in the civil court, I would hear either housing matters or small claims matters, or in the civil court, matters up to $25,000. And in the small claims part, it's matters up to $10,000. Whereas if I were placed in the family court, then I would hear the cases that fall under the Family Court Act. Some of those cases also overlap with other areas of law. So it would include things like child abuse and neglect, custody, visitation, contempt hearings, and juvenile delinquency proceedings as well. And if I were placed in the criminal court, then I would be hearing cases that involve violations of the penal law.
Mhm.
So it would essentially depend on where they put me and where the seat was available.
Right. So when is that decided? After the election, they decide which seats are available?
Yes, I'm not exactly sure when that decision is made, but I know the process is that after the election, they have to vet the results of the election, and then the Office of Court Administration also, there's a process involved with them, and then you find out where you go after that. But you also have to be inducted in order to become a judge. So there's usually um, um, a, a, an event after the election and after the Office of Court Administration validates you that it's a celebratory event, and also you get sworn in at that time to become a judge.
Yeah, it sounds exciting and cumbersome. Is there anything else that voters should know about a county judgeship seat?
Well, I think the most important thing is that every vote counts. And in Queens County, which is referred to as the world's borough, it's very important that the judiciary reflects the community that it serves.
Mhm.
And that because Queens is so diverse, it's important that we have a diverse bench who understands the needs of the community, recognizes the needs of the community, and that when people come into court, they can see faces that look like them so that they can have more faith in the judicial process.
Yep. I know we're seeing that all over with all types of different kinds of people that are now running for office, serving in office and serving the people. So it's an important facet now of our new government.
Yes, and everybody should make their voices heard. And for me, it's very important that I get the support from the community, because I cannot get on the bench without the support of the community, because they're the ones who make the decision ultimately.
Yeah, so good luck to you, Andrea Ogle, running for Queens County Civil Court Judge. And if elected, you'd be the first Indo-Caribbean woman to serve in this seat in Queens County.
Yes, judges are on the back side of the ballot, the reverse side of the ballot. So I
Oh,
would
that's a
remind
good point to mention too. Don't forget to flip over your ballot, everyone.
yes, judges are usually on the bottom, on the back side of the ballot, on the reverse side of the ballot. And a lot of people will vote for the legislators on the front side, but sometimes they forget to flip the ballot over. So
Okay.
it's important to do that. And you'll find the names of all the judges on the reverse side.
Okay. Looking forward to election day. Thanks so much for joining me on Politics NY with Skye.